After a 4-day operation, ICE agents arrested 65 people they say are here in our state illegally.
America, ICE just conducted one of the biggest immigration sweeps in Connecticut history. Arrested 65 people in 4 days, including convicted rapists, child sex predators, and gang members. The operation was called Broken Trust, a direct shot at Connecticut's sanctuary policies that protect criminals from deportation. But here's what's absolutely wild. A Democrat state representative posted ICE locations on social media to help criminals avoid arrest. And when conservatives called him out, he started getting death threats. Because this story has everything: sanctuary cities protecting violent criminals, politicians helping lawbreakers escape justice, and the media spinning law enforcement operations as terror campaigns. This is peak liberal insanity.
Back up! Back up!
Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Boston office says they led a large-scale enforcement called Operation Broken Trust.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly shows the battle between federal law enforcement trying to protect communities and Democratic politicians who care more about protecting criminals than protecting citizens. Let me break down this incredible 4-day operation to just remove some of the most dangerous criminals from Connecticut communities.
Immigration officials say they arrested 65 people in a 4-day sweep. Nearly 30 reportedly have serious criminal records, we're told.
From August 12th through the 15th, ICE agents worked together with the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, and U.S. Marshals, and they arrested 65 people throughout Connecticut. Nearly 30 of them, almost half, had serious criminal records, including convictions of violent crimes.
Says their operation was targeting immigrants here illegally with ties to organized crime and other offenses. These are some of the pictures provided by ICE of their operation. Of the 65 arrests, ICE says 29 people had been convicted or charged with a crime in the U.S. ICE also sent out mugshots for 13 people they deemed the worst of the worst. Some of the crimes ICE says they've committed include kidnapping, assault, sex crimes, and drug offenses.
The operation was specifically called Broken Trust. This was a direct reference to Connecticut's Trust Act, which limits cooperation between local law enforcement and ICE. This was federal agents sending a clear message about sanctuary policies that protect criminals.
But this release put out by ICE did have some political overtones.
Government can choose to do what they want to do, but we, me and mine, we will be standing for the people of Connecticut, regardless of their immigration status, regardless of their race, their religion, their creed.
The rest were identified as gang members or had criminal history in their home countries. These weren't people who just overstayed their visas. These were dangerous criminals on the streets of Connecticut.
And here at the scene right now of a protest, protesting what the feds called Operation Broken Trust. That name, Broken Trust, invokes the name of the Connecticut state law, the Trust Act, which limits cooperation between local and state cops and ICE.
ICE was particularly active in Dunbury, where they arrested multiple convicted sex offenders and violent criminals. Among those nabbed in Dunbury was a man convicted of drug charges, harassment, carrying prohibited weapons, cruelty towards a child, and obscene communication. In Stamford, they arrested a man with convictions for robbery, assault, and breach of peace. These are violent criminals walking around Connecticut communities, potentially near schools and families.
According to ICE, 65 undocumented immigrants were apprehended, who either have serious crime charges in the U.S., are part of a transnational gang, or have crime charges in their home country.
ICE specifically targeted people with serious criminal charges in the United States. Transnational gang members are those with criminal charges in their home country. The youngest was 19 from Guatemala. The oldest was 51 from Peru. The others came from countries like India, Ecuador, and El Salvador. Now here's where the story exposes the insanity of Connecticut's sanctuary policies that protect criminals from deportation. ICE said sanctuary legislation forces law enforcement professionals to release criminal alien offenders back into the very communities that they've already victimized. Connecticut's Trust Act expanded in May, and it makes it even harder for local police to cooperate with federal immigration agents.
Governor Ned Lamont, who just yesterday told the Trump administration it would not alter the Trust Act, said about the ICE sting,
as this action proves nothing in Connecticut law prevented immigration officials from conducting these enforcement efforts contrary to their own agency's assertions.
Governor Ned Lamont defended the Trust Act, claiming nothing in Connecticut law prevented immigration officers from conducting these enforcement efforts. But in my opinion, that's missing the point. Sanctuary policies force ICE to conduct dangerous street arrests instead of safe jail pickups.
While Republicans like State Senator Stephen Harding and Rob Sampson called the arrests excellent news, and quote, Connecticut Republicans will continue to stand for law and order, and we will continue to stand with victims of violent crime.
Finally, some politicians who care more about protecting citizens instead of protecting illegal amigos. Now here's where the story gets really outrageous. A Democratic state representative actually tried to help criminals avoid arrests. We've seen this before.
It also saw one of its state representatives, Democrat Corey Paris, post on social media alerting his followers to reports of ICE activity. He told them to stay vigilant and share any information about ICE operations with local advocacy organizations.
He told them to
stay vigilant
and share information about ICE operations with local advocacy organizations. This is a sitting legislator helping criminals avoid federal law enforcement.
That statement was then posted by the conservative social media account Libs of TikTok and viewed by more than 2 million people. The account called for Paris to be charged with impeding ICE. ICE itself reposted Libs of TikTok, tagging the Justice Department.
Even federal agents were disgusted by this interference.
Paris said he's received death threats in the days since. The state police are investigating, and elected leaders on both sides expressed outrage.
While death threats are never acceptable, this shows what happens when politicians prioritize protecting criminals over protecting citizens. Let's look at how these arrests actually went down, because it shows the reality of what ICE agents face when sanctuary policies force street operations.
New footage from Norwalk as two brothers from Mexico were arrested by federal agents. Seen here, one brother attempted to run away when he was tased and fell down. The other brother can be heard yelling in the background and asked to see the agent's arrest warrants.
One brother tried to run as he was tased, while the other demands to see arrest warrants. This is what happens when criminals think that they can avoid the consequences of sanctuary jurisdictions.
Not everyone approves of how these arrests went down.
And people, especially law enforcement officials, have to be accountable for their actions, and they have to be identifiable to make sure that if something did go wrong, we can identify the officer.
Of course, critics complain about how these arrests were conducted, demanding that law enforcement be accountable and identifiable. But these are federal agents arresting violent criminals who were protected by sanctuary policies. They did their job professionally. All 65 individuals are expected to remain in ICE custody while they go through removal proceedings or are formally deported. This means 65 criminals are off the streets of Connecticut, including 29 with serious criminal convictions. America, this story perfectly illustrates the battle between federal law enforcement trying to protect communities and Democratic politicians who prioritize protecting criminals over protecting citizens. Operation Broken Trust removed 65 dangerous individuals from Connecticut communities in just 4 days, including convicted rapists, child predators, gang members, and violent criminals. These weren't just random arrests. ICE specifically targeted the worst of the worst. But instead of celebrating the removal of dangerous criminals, Democratic politicians attacked the operation, and one even tried to help criminals avoid arrest by posting ICE locations on social media. This shows you exactly where their priorities lie. Connecticut's Trust Act forces ICE to conduct dangerous street arrests instead of safe jail pickups, putting both law enforcement and public safety at greater risk. Sanctuary policies do not protect communities. They protect criminals from consequences. The political response tells you everything that you need to know. Republicans celebrate removal of violent criminals from their communities, while Democrats call it terror and disgusting attacks and kidnapping. One party wants to protect citizens. The other wants to protect criminals. This is exactly why Americans voted for Trump and support aggressive immigration enforcement. We're tired of sanctuary policies that protect rapists and gang members while putting law-abiding citizens at risk. 65 criminals removed from Connecticut streets can no longer victimize innocent people. That's what real community safety looks like, not the sanctuary policies that enable their crimes in the first place. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.